he gets his turn. But Mr. Chairman, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, and I know you've got a hard stop, so I'll try and be as accommodating to you as I can. First, just one piece of unsolicited political advice. Make Maryland your favorite state.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, that's
just,
fair.
Word to the wise.
That's fair. You did just get our basketball coach from Texas A&M. So, yeah, I've become much more interested, but yes.
Well, I won't even get into basketball after what the Thunder did the night before last, but.
We'll move on.
Yeah, not before that. Anyway, a couple quick things. Number one, I'm not going to read an opening statement, Mr. Chairman. If I may, I'll just submit it for the record. You don't need to hear that. There's a couple of questions I do have, but before I do, I want to commend you for what you are doing in reviewing grants and money out the door. Look, every administration, I'm not even saying this to partisans, it's at the end is shoving out every dime they can. And we've had numerous examples in the billions of dollars. I think of one to a nonprofit formed last year for $2 billion that your colleague, Lee Zeldin, our former colleague, pointed out was clearly
Stunning.
political, clearly ill-advised. So you are well within your rights. I agree very much with what the gentlelady from Iowa had to say about this. And so thank you for doing it. And I know you catch a lot of flack for it. And I know sometimes, folks that should have gotten money, it takes a little longer, and that is a problem.
Yeah.
But you're doing the right thing, and I know you'll make sure the worthy recipients get it. But you can save the taxpayers some money. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Two questions I have. One's pretty easy. I hope it's easy. States like Oklahoma voluntarily established state inspection programs to better serve our meat processors, and we're eligible for up to 50% cost share. In the last administration, we didn't get the full 50% match. That's really put us in a difficult spot in terms of meeting all the needs of our local and particularly our smaller producers. So if you've had a chance to think about this, will the USADA be providing the 50% cost share this fiscal year for state inspection programs? Do you know if you're...
I don't know off the top of my head, but we will get back to you today
Okay.
on that. And I would believe that if this was, it's obviously very important to my neighbor to the north, Oklahoma, and our cattle producers, that seems
We'd appreciate
important.
if you looked at it. And look, we also get it, and I actually direct this to the members as well. There's a lot of legitimate complaints about how many hearings we're having and how quickly. That's because you're a new administration. It took
That's
a while
right.
to get everybody in place. We don't have a full budget yet, which
That's
I would
right.
urge. I know you're working with OMB. We're glad we got the skinny budget, but that's not a full budget. We need the full budget. And I will tell this, and we'll talk about it in full committee to my fellow committee members. We are going to get every one of these damn bills out of here by the August break. So it's going to be a hectic schedule, period, because we have no chance of getting things done by the end of the fiscal year if this committee is not able to expedite its work. So I'm going to push the members and the staff awfully hard. The things got here, but again, this is a new administration. Every administration in its first year goes through this because they don't have time to get the budget done. It takes a while to get their people through, and so it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Second question, last year, under the last administration, was very unusual. We had a tremendous problem with tribal food distribution programs. So much so that we actually had a bipartisan hearing, and it was a hearing between both the Appropriations and Ag, and honestly, we had genuine bipartisan concern over this issue, partly because all of us that represent tribal communities had begun hearing about this a lot. I mean, these promised deliveries of food weren't showing up. And we began hearing the complaints in April. You usually don't get people talking in the same voice and going after administration. I want to commend my Democratic colleagues on this. A few weeks before an election on something like this, but it was so bad that people were doing it. So you have a lot, there's a lot of, hey, first Americans were the first farmers too. They're pretty
That's
good
right.
at what they do. And we certainly have a lot of tribal farmers in Oklahoma. We all have a lot of tribal needs in terms of trust and treaty commitments the federal government's made over the years. So I'd be curious as to if you've had a time to even look at those programs, and if you could get back to us about how are we doing now? Because literally last time when we went through this, while we were hearing the complaints in April, and while we know the Ag Department was hearing the complaints in April, the secretary, actually your predecessor, testified that he didn't know anything about it till August. I mean, how in the world it doesn't get from the front door to the secretary's desk when we're talking about food distribution to needy senior Indians for months.
Yeah.
Tells me that something was very wrong with the bureaucracy and the flow of information in the ag department last time.
Yeah. Well, I am familiar with it. Let me get a full update for you, and I'll call you later today, if that's okay. T.W. Shannon, a great Oklahoman, is
Used
on
to work for me.
Well, he's on our senior staff.
I know.
Focusing on rural prosperity, and certainly he is of these communities as well. So
much so.
I'll loop him in and make sure he's at least an every day, every minute conduit for you. But you can always call me as well. But we'll put
Thank
him
you
on
very
it.
much.
Yeah, thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you. You're back.